extension. So straight arm, bring it back. Extension. You can actually have her do handcuff and then try and bring your arm back. And relax. Teres major and minor, you remember that one? Have your partner swing forward and backwards. Major does internal rotation, minor does external. So as she swings, they come up, they almost like walk up and down right here. So a few different options. First though, after that, I'm just gonna grab onto this deltoid and squeeze and hold. How's this compression?
Good.
And all I'm literally doing is just grabbing just like this. How's that head rest? Is that comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have her arm out in abduction. It does put the deltoid in a slightly shortened position, but it's just a little bit better for me. If her arm is down like this, I have to sit back further and I get a little external rotation, so it's not the best position for me as a therapist. So a neutral abduction is fine. You can do a little pin and post. So just like on the abs where we pin and stretch a little bit, doing the same thing. Where she face up, I would do the same thing anteriorly. But most,
you always want to go up.
yes. So we're going up towards the origin. You can apply more pressure and get like a big meat hook grab. And stand and kind of squat into it if she needed more pressure. She doesn't. If you have somebody who has large deltoids that are bigger than your hand, you might just have to do segments of it. So just grab the posterior, maybe try and grab the middle, reach around and try and grab the anterior. And just hold up for a minute. You can hold the lower portion by the insertion, you can grab the whole thing and just kind of grab in sections. This muscle in the middle section is multi-pinnae, so grab all you can. Then we're going to grab onto her teres major. Go slow and be gentle because it does make this posterior fold of the axilla and it can be kind of uncomfy. So I'm just grabbed. How's that? Is that pressure comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using two hands for stabilization. I'm afraid if I only use one hand, it'll kind of roll out and that'll be uncomfortable for her. We don't ever want to flip muscles. I kind of want to get lower. Do you guys see how my wrists were?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit better. Lower just a little bit. Get closer to that attachment site. And just like deltoid, I would hold each one up to a minute. I can do a little pin and post action. Oh, really? So I have to go super low. Why? Because lats goes into my thoracolumbar fascia, which comes out here and then merges with the lumbosacral fascia. So from sacrum till about T12-ish, like a diamond, this is all fascia. This is all her lats. So, pin and post. And this is the way I happen to start all my massages. If I'm working your back, it doesn't matter what you've come in to complain about, I start this way because the nature of this fascia and how involved it is with so many different muscles. I'm gonna pin and post just like this. You remember this from day one on the way back machine? And the pressure is applied parallel with her, like we're trying to open a glass door. If you're trying to open a glass door and you push on it, you're gonna break it. So It's parallel. I'll do up and down. I'll do crisscross. Crisscross, parallel on the other side. And I'll hold each one up to a minute. If you can't hold them that long, because you have to build up your strength, you can do like 15-second bursts. 15 seconds, hold and change, 15 seconds, 15. I'm going to do skin rolling. Is that comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Let me know if it gets too pinchy. It can become a little challenging to skin roll on this low back area between the ribs and pelvis, but it doesn't hurt to try. If skin rolling is too uncomfortable for some people, you can make like a diamondy shape with your hands and just like kind of lift it up like Play-Doh. Because for some people, they just have systemic inflammation. It's very aggravating to receive any skin rolling. If it starts to stick, you can just do a little. A little wiggle. Just that little bit. Do you see how pink she's gotten? God bless you.
Oh, thank you.
You can also do a little flat palm torquing. You know, we learned on the legs, torquing's kind of like a twisting motion. So, flat palm on the back. Take it all the way up. Take out the shoulder if you want to. Heard that. How long are you gonna do your myofascial release for?
At least 10.
Yeah, at least for this one, 10 minutes, because we're pinching and holding on this deltoid, which is part of the treatment. And I'm going to start out with a little half heart effleurage, just like in our Swedish. Make sure your draping is at the sacrum and the pelvis because of this fascial attachment. To that posterior deltoid, I'm going to bring the arm out in abduction, kind of stabilize it. I've engaged my core to stabilize me because I'm still pushing from my center mass. I'm not just using my arm strength here. This is an extremity muscle, which means we don't have to work that hard. When I find something, I can have her do what? So I'm in her posterior deltoid. What would I have her do for a little active release?
Move her arm change.
Yeah. Do a little rotation. So external rotation is activating it. Internal rotation is relaxing this portion. Take it back one more time and then go to relax. Awesome. So I just had her rotating. rest of it is just effleurage and treat what you find. Make your way all through the deltoid. So I can't really hit the anterior. I have to work under her arm. And I can pull down and hit. It's her bicep tendon. So ideally, after I finish all this, I would flip her and I would hit that anterior portion. But before we do that, I'm going to hit this Teres major and this lats. So running just like you did with Teres minor, it takes the same course all through here. You can use that scapula to your advantage, so when you find tension, you could hit it right up against that scapula. Whenever you're able to compress a muscle, a trigger point up against a bone, it's literally like, like squeezing it because you're up against something hard, so helps to get it to release. How are we doing there with some pressure?
Good.
Got some stuff going on here. Did y'all feel it last week when we were doing rotator cuff stuff along your Teres minor? Teres major and minor love to get irritated. And realistically, you don't know if you're isolating one over the other. You're just treating them both at the same time. I know major attaches lower though. So I'm going to make sure I go all the way down to that inferior angle of her scapula. Now with lats, I'm going to spread my hand out a little bit more. Because it is such a broad muscle. When it comes to lats, it's not going to be as easy to identify whether a trigger point is in latissimus dorsi or one of the other muscles deeper to it unless you can identify muscle fibers. It's such a thin muscle. It's not like where you can feel it in deltoid, that's a bulky trigger point. The trigger points in thin latissimus dorsi are going to be thin and small. It's going to be more likely you're going to encounter some top bands in it.
What is that? Either to the left or the right of the spine, a lot of times there'll just be a tight band, like down lower, and yeah, either side. Like when I massage people, there'll be like a band right there.
Does it run up and down?
Yep.
Those are your erectors. So they go from your sacrum to your skull, and they literally run up.
And they get really tight.
It feels like a big cord, like a rope almost. And you can flip over them. Don't flip over them, but it happens.
You just go along the side of them, and you're trying to just.
Yeah, you can just run parallel with them for right now. During clinicals, people come with tight backs, hit their erectors, treat what you find. The same way we are with everything else. A fun move I like to do for lats and really kind of like all of this. Kind of get some play on the shoulder blade. Let them get comfortable with it. Hold their arm above their head and then Apley's move with my opposite hand. Just take your effleurage down. Makes like a nice little stretch on top of it. You can even make it a stretch. I'm pushing on that pelvis. Taking the shoulder up and over. Reset. Do a little opposite move. So, like we said in the real world, we're going to hit probably rotator cuff along with these if we're in the back. If we're doing deltoid, we're hitting pecs too, so take it through that whole stretch. Do I want a friction? Do a little frictioning before I flip. Spine of the scapula. A little bit of acromion for that deltoid origin. gonna friction along this lateral border of my scapula. For lats, I'm gonna hit all along the spine. So here's the ridge of her spine, her spinous processes, those muscles we were just asking about. Here's the erector spinae on the side. So I've bumped right up against them, those spinous processes. I'm just doing little circular movements all the way down. And then hit along that ilium. Be mindful of any lipomas, little fatty cysts, little fat pockets. We all get them, doesn't matter what size or shape you are. We all get them, and the body likes to put them along the slow back. So it feels more superficial than a trigger point. It's very movable, and it feels more oblong than it does trigger points, are usually round. So if it kind of feels like that, don't press on it. Last spot before we flip. Face down with her arm out. Does latissimus dorsi and teres major, they make up the posterior fold, but do they attach to the front of the humerus or the back of the humerus?
Front.
The front. They actually go under and attach to the front. So I do a little reach around. Doing all right?
Mhm.
That's a big old breath. Did y'all see that? That was mean to me. I didn't relax that enough. You can get a little targeted effleurage by bringing the arm up. If you're having trouble getting those attachment sites. Let's flip into the anterior. Nice tight little tent there. Okay. How's that? I gotta go over there now.
Have your feet.
It does.
But not to undo.
From who? Who was your partner yesterday? Where are they?
Expose them. That was pretty close to me.
When you abduct and internally rotate? Right, coracobrachialis is like right there. Does it hurt there? Does it hurt when I poke it?
It's tender.
We learned that one in a few weeks. But she expressed to me, she said it's already painful here. So I'm not going to aggravate it. I'm just doing gentle effleurage. You guys were asking, well, how do I know it's deltoid? How do I know it's deltoid? Up to this point, I assumed it was. As soon as she flipped over and I went to take a effleurage up, there's a muscle we're going to learn in quite a few weeks called coracobrachialis. Goes from the coracoid process and attaches like midway down on the humerus. It's in your armpit, kind of right where my tattoo is. As soon as I put my hand there, it is up to Mimi. It's angry. So that lets me know, oh, well, deltoid's not the only one in the front. So it'd be very mean of me to get some friction going, get really deep in here. So I'm just going to do some gentle effleurage. Is that pressure comfortable? Mm-hmm. And that lets me know, oh, well, after I do this, I should treat this muscle. What are our stretches? Everything. Every stretch we know, right? Because deltoid does it all. So we'll do our external rotation. We'll do our internal rotation. We can do our traction. Palm up, stretch, rotate the whole thing, palm down. Remember all these? Face down, you can even do the little behind the back thing.
Oh.
You guys have any questions?